Hello, I'm Rachel Egan, your independent scrutineer, and today I'm going to be talking to you about preparing for a joint targeted area inspection. You've probably heard it referred to as a JTI. We're going to be thinking about some effective strategies to ensure successful inspection outcomes. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to tell you a bit more about who will make up the inspection team, what their roles will be, and some of the key things to think about before the inspection starts. So what's a JTI all about? And how is it different from an inspection that you might already have experienced? The key thing about the JTI is that it is evaluating how well agencies work together to protect children. It's interested in the consistency across all partners. Is there consistent application of policy and process? But most importantly, does the collaborative impact equal improved outcomes and reduced risk? So, who's part of the JTI team? Well, in a JTI inspection, you can typically expect 10 to 14 inspectors. The slide is setting out how many from each inspectorate there will be, and the most critical thing here is that they are all bringing their expertise together to assess safeguarding and welfare standards, and that all-important question: are we making a difference to children? The methodology that the team use isn't particularly different from methodologies that are used in most inspections, and you can see here that the team will be undertaking a wide range of activities, from case sampling and tracking of children's experiences to interviewing practitioners, managers and leaders. They'll also observe multi-agency meetings to see inter-agency collaboration in practice and review performance data, management information, and really importantly, they will spend time speaking directly with children, young people and families, as well as frontline staff. Like any inspection, JTI has a lead inspector, and in this case, it's someone from Ofsted with a social care background. They'll be supported by colleagues with education backgrounds, as well as inspectors from all of the agencies on the previous slide. They'll work together through all of the inspection stages and really be thinking about how they bring their expertise together to provide a really comprehensive assessment of how effective safeguarding is in the area related to the theme of the JTI. JTIs are thematic, and this slide shows a wide range of themes that have been covered by JTI. Each time a theme is announced, there will be updated lines of enquiry and criteria associated with that theme. So it's really important that as themes are announced, you get familiar with that. And the last theme was children who are victims of domestic abuse, and it specifically looked at children unborn to age 7. Quite a few areas did a dry run of that theme, and that's something that a number of partnerships are adopting as an approach, is that once the theme is announced, they carry out a dry run of that thematic area. So, beyond the themes of the JTI are a number of areas that are always a focus within inspection, and you can see those on the slide here. And point 2 really highlights that from a leadership and management lens, the JTI is looking at the effectiveness of multi-agency safeguarding arrangements. And again, here we see really strongly represented how well children's experiences and voices inform practice. So it's really important to be thinking about these 4 areas throughout. They are absolutely core aspects of safeguarding, and I think a number of them are also perennial issues that we see coming up time again in rapid reviews and in LCSPRs, particularly around information sharing and that nuance of making sure that information is informing our understanding of that child's experience, and that we are using information to build a picture by triangulating what we're hearing, seeing, being told about the child and their experiences. Whatever the theme of the inspection, there'll be some key areas that will remain a sharp focus. Safeguarding protocols, risk assessment, proactive actions, things you'll all be familiar with. But inspectors in a JTI really do go back to that question of what difference have these things made to children? So really bring that lens when you're discussing cases, when you're doing your evaluations and audits, when you're doing supervision, bring that question back. How has this made a difference for the child? So let's take a moment to think about getting ready for inspection. I'm sure you've all been involved in completing a self-assessment, and that's crucial to identify strengths and areas for improvement and to start to gather the evidence that demonstrates positive outcomes for children. In this instance, you're going to need to think about that across agencies. Where have you got joint protocols and policies that everyone should adhere to, and where have single agencies got a policy that feeds into the wider system? We all have our strengths, and you'll have someone in your organisation who's brilliant at detail. This is really important when reviewing current policies and procedures. From a single agency, that's down to each organisation. From a multi-agency perspective, that will happen through our Policy and Procedures Group, which is a shared group with Kent. One of the key objectives we identified for ourselves in our new strategic plan is to make sure that policies and procedures link back to our values, link back to children and young people, and are really simple and easy to follow and read for frontline professionals. So this should be the litmus test when you're reviewing those policies and procedures. Ask yourself those questions. Is it easy to understand? Is it live and current? Does it connect me to the reason I'm doing this in terms of having an impact for children and families? We want to be able to answer yes to all of those questions. One of the challenges during inspections can be an underselling of the progress that has been made. So be really clear about what are those areas of strength. What did we say in our annual report about what we were doing well? How have we been progressing against the priorities that we identified for ourselves? And how does that link back into the inspection standards? It's really important that we don't undersell ourselves. At the same time, we also need to be really clear about what are our areas for improvement, those areas where we haven't made sufficient progress yet, and critically, what are the plans to address them. I'm sure most people already have a regular and comprehensive process for collecting information about what's working well. But if you don't, now is a good time to start. Collect case studies that clearly demonstrate successful interventions and positive outcomes. And if you can, get children to create storyboards and things in their own words. Some areas use short videos, some people use surveys. There's a really wide range. It doesn't really matter on the methodology that you use. The main thing is that children find it accessible and that it's easy to collate and easy to share. JTIs, like many inspections, are unannounced, so we don't know when day one will be. But this slide gives you a clear timeline for the entire JTI process. One of the key things that you need to be ready for is that once the inspectors select children, single and multi-agency audits will need to be completed, and then inspectors will compare their findings with our findings. Sometimes a case is falling short. It's really important in those instances that you have examples that might not be conveyed within the record that you can give, showing that you know the child well and showing how impact has been made. Engaging and preparing leaders, staff and children. This section focuses on the preparation you need to do so that everyone is ready for inspection. Most importantly, in preparing, is that you foster an open culture so that people are ready and practiced at reflection, at articulating their strengths, and at articulating the things that are not working as effectively as they could do, and what the plans are to address. Prepare your leaders. The slide sets out what will happen on the first day, and leaders need to be prepared that they will be called on to speak to inspectors and describe how multi-agency practice is working for children in their area, not only in their own organisation, but across the entire partnership. So think ahead in advance. Are you briefing your leaders about the key areas of challenge? Are you drawing on them to escalate those systemic issues and find solutions to the problems that need a strategic and not an operational view? If you're not, then you're not supporting your leaders to be prepared, and you're not maximising the opportunity for change for children. So, ask yourself the question, what could leaders do to progress an area of practice, to improve outcomes for children that can't be achieved at an operational level? So, how do we get staff ready? Well, this briefing session today is the start of our work to make sure that everybody's ready. So please repeat a similar session with your own teams. The more that people are prepared and know what to expect, what the objectives are of the inspection, what their role will be, and also get the chance to practice talking about what's effective and what needs to change and how work is impacting children, the more prepared we'll be for inspection. One of the really important things is getting a consistent story. So if I went to speak to staff in your teams today, would they say the same thing as another team in another agency about what's working well and what needs to change? If you don't know, then you need to take some action. And if you know that they wouldn't, you need to take some action. What do we need to do to get our story straight? Inspectors want to hear from children and families about what's working well. Inspectors always know if this is something that happens on a regular basis, and if you systematically involve children's voice in developing and shaping services, or if it's something you've rustled together for the purpose of inspection. So if you haven't got those systematic approaches embedded, this is a good time to think about what you want to do. Lots of people are already doing brilliant things to get feedback from children and act on it. So talk to your colleagues about the processes they have in place. They might even already have a group that you could link with to find out some feedback about the service you're responsible for. We hear a lot about culture, don't we? Culture is essentially behaviour. How do we behave in a way that enables staff to feel that they can be open and honest and transparent about the things that are working well and the challenges that they are facing. And when staff talk to us about those challenges, those difficulties, do we proactively find solutions? And do we give them that feedback to say what we've done with their feedback, the changes that we've made, and the areas where we're not able to move forward and why? Also, model a positive attitude to inspection. It's a great chance to get an evaluation of local practice. So go in with that mindset that this is a great learning opportunity for everybody and a chance for us to reflect on our work, celebrate what's good, what's working well, and identify those areas for development. Effective documentation and record keeping. It sounds like a dry subject, but it's something that's been on my mind a lot recently. Why? Because when we use words like safe, good, well in recording, we don't convey what the child's experience is like. We don't convey the impact or the risk, and we all have a different view about what good or safe or well means, and that leads us to make assumptions about the situation for the child. So, when you're thinking about record keeping, try and bring that child's lens to it. It really does make it a different task than simply writing down the work that's taken place. There's a lot of logistics during the inspection in terms of getting access to records and information. So you've really got to be organised in advance and have clear protocols in place for how information will flow, who information requests will go to, how staff needing to look at records who are part of the inspection team will access them and get the training on the systems, and also how will you be ensuring that all of the data policy issues are complied with. It's a lot. So think about this in advance, and again, have clearly nominated people in each agency who are able to collaborate on this way before we get to inspection. Where there are key data lists that need to be provided, it's a good idea to do practice runs of those on a periodic basis. This will help you identify any gaps that you need to fill. Strong communication and partnership working underpin a successful JTI preparation. This section explores strategies to engage inspectors. Remember, inspectors are just people like you. Give them a warm welcome and do all of those lovely hospitality things to get the inspection off to a good start and to communicate to them that they are welcome and you are an open and transparent organisation. It's really important that there is a clear process for providing information. You can do this through your internal team, and I would really recommend that there is a clear internal group with an identified person from each agency that's responsible for managing the inspection. Inspectors always ask staff for information, so be clear with staff that they need to funnel those requests through the internal team. The questions that inspectors ask are a clue to what they are thinking and the things they have a hypothesis about. So be ready and prepared to be able to pull information together at short notice to cover off any key lines of inquiry that you don't believe are appropriate or reflective of practice in your area. Think of your interaction with inspectors, both verbal and written, as a dialogue in which they raise questions using professional curiosity and you provide answers back using data and other types of intelligence to really convey the position to them. The lead inspector will write up the inspection findings and address these to the senior leaders in the local partnership, the chair of the safeguarding partnership and the independent scrutineer, that's me. Inspectors will include priority actions if a serious weakness places a child at risk of harm or inadequate protection. It's really important that we're ready to stand up a response to any findings and incorporate that into our overall multi-agency safeguarding arrangements. One of the really key things post-inspection is that there is proper briefings of staff to share the findings, again celebrating the strengths to build on and identifying those areas of improvement. This way we keep a full feedback and learning loop. So here's a quick summary. When you're preparing for a JTI, start off by understanding its purpose, conducting your self-assessment, engaging everyone who is going to be involved, managing your documentation in advance, and communicating effectively pre-inspection as well as during it. If you do all of that and you keep your focus on the question, did we make a difference to children and how was that difference made, then you'll do great in the inspection. I hope you found this presentation useful. There are some more links here if you'd like to do some further reading. The most critical thing of any inspection is knowing children and families well and being able to talk about their experiences and how at an operational and strategic level we've made decisions to improve outcomes.